Welcome to the SmartZone Network Controller demonstration series for the SmartZoneOS 5. In this demonstration, we'll be covering enhancements that have been introduced in this release. These enhancements are grouped together in this video because they're simple to use and can be explained quickly. Subjects discussed in this video, as well as the video series, do not represent all enhancements that have been introduced with the SmartZoneOS 5 release. So please check release documentation for full details. Items that will be discussed in this video are multi-language support, expanded client connection diagnostics, wireless LAN types, troubleshooting client search enhancements, captive portal redirection backup features, the hotspot backup authentication service, 2.4 GHz mesh support, Ruckus GRE enhancement of tunnel encryption of AES 256, PerPacket Transmission Power adaption, and DHCP and NAT license options. So let's get started. So in the SmartZoneOS 5 release, there are additional languages that are supported in the GUI. You can go to the preferences here and then you can select the language you prefer to see displayed. In addition to the English version, there's Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, French, German, Italian, Russian, simplified and traditional Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. All of these can be selected, and tabs and other information within the GUI will be displayed in that language. Do note that the public API CLI, along with the data that is being collected for SmartZone, however, are not translated into those languages, such as events and alarms and so forth. Moving on to the Client Connect diagnosis enhancement, previously the support for wireless LAN types were limited to Open, PSK, 802.1x, MacAuth, and Whisper. CCD now in the 5.0 release does support additional wireless LAN types of WebAuth wireless LAN, and that would be non-proxy or proxy, and guest access wireless LANs. Additionally, there has been a feature or enhancement of historical client support as well. This allows for non-live client troubleshooting, and there is a dedicated video within this video series providing you details on exactly how the historical client feature is supported and used. In this particular example, or in this video, we're going to talk about the connected client feature and how the search enhancements have been created within the 5.0 release. Now, the troubleshooting search enhancements include the ability to search by host name, the operating system, as well as the MAC address that we've had in the past. You can see here that we can put in put in the names of the host, and we can see that those names can be popped up or searched for based on that host name. Also, we can do it by operating system. And of course, as we saw before, we can do it by MAC address as well. All of these searches can be done based on the active connected clients that you have within SmartZone. Multiple parameters can be searched as well. As you can see here, we can do it not only by the MAC address or portion of the MAC address, but also by the host name as well. As you can see, the first host there has 2 S's for James, and that can be searched also. So it gives you additional abilities or much more granular detail to be able to search out clients when trying to troubleshoot or diagnose issues with that client. Moving on to the captive portal redirection backup, we can go down to services, we can go to the captive portal or hotspots, and then Whisper. And we can see when editing this, we already have one configured. We now have a secondary option when it comes to redirecting unauthenticated users. This could be redirected to, say, a local copy if your tunnel has been disrupted, or just simply as a backup in case the primary redirection is not available. In addition to the secondary redirection option, you can also go into wireless LANs, and you have the ability to provide a backup authentication service as well. So when we select a hotspot here and we scroll down, we can see that we can select a controller used as a proxy. So if a proxy service, we can click on that proxy service, and then we have an option for a backup authentication service. Now this backup authentication service is a non-proxy option that we see, but we have one configured here as well, and we can use that as a secondary backup or a secondary authentication service in the event that our primary authentication service does not function or is not reachable. Now, a couple of key things to point out here is that do understand that roaming of authorized clients is not supported when the backup is in active mode, and the clients will have to re-authenticate when roaming to and from a healthy AP to this AP or to this wireless LAN environment. Now, once the AP in SmartZone Tunnel is recovered to that primary proxy service, then the AP will revert back to the original authentication service when available. Also know that the IPv6 zone currently is not supported in this release. Moving on to the next feature, we're going to show you that 2.4 gigahertz mesh support is now available within these environments as well. So we can go into a zone configuration. We go and configure that zone. And within this zone configuration, as we go down to the mesh options and enable it, you can see we have an additional 2.4 gigahertz option now. We can select that and we can create the mesh through that 2.4 gigahertz range instead of the default 5.5 gigahertz that we've had in the past. This gives you options for environments where the 2.4 is needed to be able to provide the mesh and be able to allow you to choose between either 2.4 or the 5 gigahertz range. One thing to point out is that the existing mesh deployments must be disabled before switching to alternative radio band. So if you have an existing mesh environment in the 5 gigahertz band, you need to disable that and then enable it into 2.4 for the migration to be successful. So the next feature enhancement I'd like to discuss is the encryptions available now for the GRE or Ruckus GRE tunnels. So if we go down to the tunnels and ports, and we see on the Ruckus, we can create a Ruckus GRE. We now have a AES 256 support option when it comes to the Ruckus GRE tunnels. Now this is separated from a data plane and a control plane perspective. So traffic between the AP and the Smart Zone D being transported using a Ruckus GRE tunnel can be configured and perform under the zone configuration. APs that do not support the AES 256 encryption, they will continue to use the AES 128 encryption option that you've selected. The last two topics I'd like to discuss is the PerPacket Transmit Power adaption as well as the DHCP and NAT license options. First is the PerPacket Transmit Power adaption. So this enables APs to transmit at an optimal MCS or modulation encoding scheme. It's enabled by default and adapts the power to be the same as the power of the last known stable MCS rate used for transmitting data frames. In a case of a retry, however, do know that the power adaption feature is disabled and will send that packet in its original power state. The benefits of this, of course, is a reduced channel interference for adjacent APs and overall higher average throughput per client performance metrics. The last feature that we'd like to discuss within this video is the DHCP and NAT license options that you have within the SmartZoneOS 5 release. So the new license options for DHCP and NAT features on the virtual data plane when implementing Virtual SmartZone Data Plane OS 5 is that it's a quantity-based license. So license assignments are specified on individual data planes. So a data plane NAT capabilities will be limited by that license assigned to any given data plane that you have deployed. You can see there's two license options. We have one for the virtual data plane, which is the NAT service, and one unit of or license represents 100K sessions, incremental add-ons per your data plane. So the assignments are to a single data plane, and the amount of licenses for the NAT and sessions flows can be assigned to that data plane. On the virtual data plane, when it comes to DHCP service, we can see that one unit represents 1,000 IP address leases, and incremental add-ons can be applied up to two data planes for that single license. And that license can be divided or applied to the primary and secondary data plane. Now, the maximum license per data plane that can be assigned from a DHCP perspective is 101 per data plane, meaning 101,000 IP leases. And from a NAT perspective, we can see 20 licenses per data plane can be assigned, which represents a maximum of 2 million NAT sessions or flows. I hope you've enjoyed this video showing you many features that are enhancements for the SmartZoneOS 5 release. Please check out the other videos within this series that will show you other enhancements that are displayed and demonstrated within this video series. Thanks for watching.